It's February 18th. It's 30 degrees outside, and yet spring is in the air, Nick. Welcome in, everybody, to Chatterbox Reds, the first official full squad day of spring training under the Reds' belts. Nick, how we feeling?
Feeling good. Always great to see the timeline just flooded with Reds content. Exciting stuff. Yeah, a lot of good stuff down in Goodyear, Arizona. A lot of optimism. It's great to have the optimistic side of Reds fandom back for at least a little bit. I savor these moments because I know it's fleeting. But shout out to our good friend Charlie Goldsmith back sort of on the beat out in Goodyear. Gets down there in like 5 minutes. He's breaking massive news stories, and it's just so cool to see him out there because he is an absolute legend of the reporting game.
Yeah, Charlie wasting no time showing why he belongs, covering the Reds. Hopefully he finds somewhere full-time sooner rather than later. Charlie, we appreciate the coverage for sure. But before we dive into all the news that Charlie unveiled along with the other reporters there in Goodyear, want to take a second to remind you about our good friends at DSC.
Yeah, as always, Chatterbox Reds proudly sponsored by Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to John and his team over at DSC.
Absolutely. Nick, let's get into it. But let's start with the start of the day in Goodyear. Reports out of Arizona that Terry started the day, of course, with his beginning of the season address to the team, a speech that veteran Brent Suter called the best he's heard in his career. What do you think about that, my friend?
Terry Francona is one of a kind. See, like the funny thing is like if David Bell tried to do something like this, like he would be mocked, right? Like by the team, like and not just David Bell, but like honestly, probably even like a guy like Aaron Boone, like Terry Francona is like one of the only guys that can actually pull off giving a big speech beforehand. So it's just that's Terry Francona for you. I love how excited everyone is about Terry Francona. I knew everyone would, and I just it's the fun thing, Greg, is just every night there's gonna be great quotes and clips, and it's getting the baseball season as much as we're dying for it, it can get a little mundane at times, and Terry Francona will help keep the baseball season fresh and stuff like that every day. So yeah, just cool to see. How much of an impact does it really have? I don't know. I think that stuff could be a little overblown, but it's cool nonetheless.
Well, it's cool. And like you said, I mean, it's a 162 game season, right? So not only is it nice because he's going to keep it fresh for us fans, but you have to believe that means he's also going to keep it fresh for his players. Now, he's got some guys that have played for him before, so it'll be interesting to see how many of his speeches he reuses year after year. But definitely some good vibes coming out of camp right now. And it's interesting, Suter went on to say that there's no better person on this planet at this than him, this meaning managing, of course. But, I love it. I think ultimately what we heard that the Reds were looking for, accountability, is exactly what he's bringing already. He's setting expectations. He said, I care so much. I want to do it right. I already blank and love them. Charlie reported he wants to make sure that no one has to assume what the expectations are. He also said that you're only new for about 30 seconds. So he's setting those expectations early. He's getting ready to hold guys accountable. You can't hold guys accountable, Nick, if you don't know what the expectations are, because they can't meet expectations if they don't know what it is. So I'm pumped up. We've been pumped up, Nick. This isn't anything new. But I mean, we're 40-ish days away from opening day, and couldn't get here soon enough. It was me. So I'm certainly ready. I know you are too. And yeah, it's going to be exciting. First impressions on Francona spring training. Anything else?
No, it's just so different, and not just David Bell, but even thinking back to like Brian Price, just like it feels like I haven't seen like Terry Francona walking through, but it feels like Terry Francona is like looking for the camera. Whereas most other normal human beings that manage a baseball team are like, yeah, I'll do an interview, whatever. But they're not like wanting to talk. It's like he rolls out of
much
bed and
different
like
vibes.
this is what he does. So it's this is why the media loves him. This is why Buster Oldie goes, yeah, the Reds are so back, because he's so lovable. And it could certainly probably be a little overrated. But hey, it's effective, and it certainly can't be a bad thing.
No. And look, he's building relationships both in the organization and outside of the organization this spring. He's one of the best. And it's ultimately, I think what you'll hear from a lot of people in all of sports is that those relationship builders are really the ones that make the best managers and that people want to play for. So I'm excited for what he's brought already, and certainly excited to see what the next several weeks bring as we continue to see more and more out of this Reds team. And speaking of seeing more and more, the man that everybody's eyes are on this spring, Elly De La Cruz, obviously making his first official appearance in spring. He's been there for a few days now, but debuting a new batting stance today, Nick. We saw video of him over the offseason working out down in the Dominican, playing some baseball in his all-star game jersey. But we're seeing a more kind of open stance, more tall. So what do you see from Elly so far in the brief look that we've gotten out of him? And what are you looking for as we progress out of Elly as he looks to adjust to his new stance?
Yeah, new batting stance always sounds like a huge deal. I'm not sure it's necessarily a huge change or anything like that. I know when people see the words to help him cut down strikeouts, that's exciting and people get pumped up. I try to be a little cautious about that because Elly De La Cruz was a really, really good player with the old stance. So the last thing you want to do is mess anything up trying to tweak your game. But I don't know. We'll wait and see on that. I'm not going to make a big deal about it one way or the other. I'm not really going to get excited about it one way or the other until I see how it squares up pitchers in big league games that count. That's really all that matters. But I know probably cop out answer, but I don't really have a big opinion on it. I'm not really going to get too excited or too. I don't know why anyone would get upset about it. I'm not going to have any big opinion one way or the other.
Well, the term that they gave in the media today was controlled aggression, and like you said, the goal to try to cut down on strikeouts. But I'll also remind you guys that not a majority, that's the wrong word, but a large number of those strikeouts last year were strikeouts that were questionable calls with the zone. So that's not going to change a whole lot. Elly has shown a really good eye in his first year plus in the majors. So until there's an automated ball strike zone, just be prepared for that to continue to be the trend. But nonetheless, he's strong enough that he does not have to be wild with his swing. So a quote unquote controlled aggression makes a ton of sense for a guy with his power. He can get the ball out of here without having to worry about trying to get the ball out of here. We talked about it last year. When you stop trying, the ball starts flying.
Yeah, and great point about all the missed strikeouts and the missed calls on calls that should have been balls that were called strikes that resulted in a strikeout for Elly. I can't remember who did great research on it, but Elly was like by far the biggest person screwed on that, and we saw it in real time. We pointed it out all year last year. You hope while we're waiting for the automated ball strikes another year, hopefully. I hope that the umpires also see that kind of stuff, and I hope they have discussions like, hey, this particular player was getting screwed all year last year. Let's try to it's something that umpires are conscious of. And the same way, the other way around, if there's a player that was getting a really generous strike zone, based on their height and dimensions and their stance and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Honestly, that'd be a great question to ask an umpire. Craig, would be like, do they have any sort of discussions about, hey, this player really got a bad strike zone? And I would hope that the Reds would be like doing everything they can to get this out. I mean, like I would be hammering the Major League Baseball on your star player getting a bad strike zone and any advantage you can. I mean, even if umpires just have in the back of their head, like that could be a huge advantage for Elly if he's able to get some of those calls to go the other way.
Yeah, I don't know in baseball specifically, to be honest. I know in other sports, the referees have scouting reports just like players do, right? So players go into it and they know what to be looking for. In the NFL, in basketball, similar thing where the refs have certain scouting reports on the players and they know what to look for and what they like to do in order to prepare themselves. And, in the NFL, you hear a lot about the head coaches spending time with the referees beforehand saying, hey, keep an eye out for this. We're going to run this trick play today. Just want you to be ready for it. Or, hey, look out for 77. He loves to do this. And we want to make sure that we're not getting cheated on it. So certainly interested to know if it's something that the happens in Major League Baseball as well. But I will remind you and everybody listening, Aaron Judge still gets very similar low strikeout calls against him, and he's been in the league a lot longer than Elly has. So I'm not getting my hopes up on that, but nonetheless, we shall see. And again, with ABS seemingly on the horizon in the near future, that'll certainly benefit Elly as long as he stays patient.
We also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay.
There's a clip from Joe Daneman of Fox 19 with Elly De La Cruz one-on-one interview talking about how he's feeling going into this upcoming season.
We have a good feeling for this year. A lot of change, and I like it. We have a good feeling. Gonna do something special this year.
Is it a different feeling this year?
Yeah, it's kind of different. It's a really good vibes.
Is there any number that you're looking for this year, whether it's stolen bases, hits, homers, anything?
Like I say, there is no number. I just want to play every day. That if something come up with that, like, I'm gonna be grateful. I just looking out to play every day and help the team win and make the playoff.
Do you think you can win MVP?
Yeah, for sure. Just gotta be healthy.
Just gotta be healthy, Nick. I think there's a lot of people that would agree with that sentiment. Elly, of course, not putting any metrics on the year in terms of defining a successful season or anything like that, but a couple things obviously sticking out to me. First and foremost, the need to stay healthy, but also, like I said before, setting expectations. Expectation for this team, Nick, is the playoffs.
Yeah, no, like, you like that your superstar is saying, we're going to do something special. We have a good feeling. A lot of we's in there, not I's, and that's great. I mean, that's Elly De La Cruz is the leader of this team. I mean, they could have the most vocal guy come in, and everyone's looking to Elly De La Cruz. The co-cover of MiLB The Show, all that kind of stuff this offseason. So yeah, I mean, it's just good to you hear that kind of rhetoric from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, he's had a chance this spring. He's going to have chances this spring to go up against some of the best. Terry Francona not wasting any time, putting his strength against his strength. Video coming out today of Elly De La Cruz in live batting practice against none other than Cy Young vote getter Hunter Greene. Nick, this was a lot of fun for me to watch. I'm sure you as well. My favorite was he kind of got one off the end of the bat, hit it down the first baseline. From what I saw, it looked like a fair ball, but Elly immediately was like, no, that's foul. I want another shot at that one. That one was foul, and ended up sending one the opposite way. But I love putting your strength against strength and challenging both of those guys right off the bat. What do you think about it?
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Shout out to all the reporters that were getting video and clips of that on Monday. But yeah, no, it's great seeing Elly face Hunter Greene, and not really super fair to Hunter Greene right off the bat. Like, yeah, here you go. You got to go face the best of the best while you're just trying to get into your spring training form. But nonetheless, good to see. And also saw CES had a drive to deep left center, reportedly off of Greene. So that's good to see as well. That's the thing I'm just excited about is all these reports about how good CES looks. That to me is the best story coming out from camp so far.
Yeah, I know CES is a big storyline for you, paying attention all spring. I loved it. I mean, during the one-on-one with Hunter and Elly, Elly, as I mentioned, took one the other way, and Hunter just looked at him and said, "How do you still hit that pitch so far?" It was, it's just amazing, and it's a lot of fun. I love the videos like that. Guys having fun while also getting really important work in, and as you mentioned, CES with a hard hit off of Hunter Greene as well. Hopefully those two things more indicative of the offense than Hunter Greene, but nonetheless exciting to see live BP. And speaking of BP and throwing, Rhett Lowder, who obviously we heard last week was going to be delayed in starting his throwing program due to a sore elbow, I believe, did begin his throwing program today, Nick.
Yeah, great to see Lowder's on track, and good. One of many starting pitching options. We'll talk later about the breaking down the rotation, but good to see him get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Also good to see going. We mentioned CES already offensively, but also now getting a look at him in the second position already of this brief spring training. We saw that he was taking some ground balls at third base last week. Today reportedly looked good and comfortable at first base. Also getting some one-on-one work with Mike Napoli over there.
Yeah, Mike Napoli, another one of Tito's guys that, a veteran. It seems like a guy that would be a good mentor for CES, not like someone who's super far removed from the game, but played well, played in the World Series, starting first baseman for the Indians in the World Series. So yeah, that's good to see as well.
Yep. And then non-roster invitees Cam Collier and Sal Stewart with some interesting video clips coming out today as well with their current training regimen.
Yeah, cool to see Barry Larkin doing some like boxing style workouts with them, and you hear the news of like the Cardinals and Jim Edmonds and how they wouldn't let him, or no, Jim Edmonds reported, was it Martin McGuire? I don't remember. There was something with the Cardinals about not letting certain players come and work with like Nolan Arenado. It seems like the Reds really are embracing that, and it's cool to see Larkin not just working with the established guys, working with the top prospects, the guys that you're really counting on. That to me seems like where Larkin can probably have the biggest impact.
Yeah, I mean it's great to see him working with Elly, and he talked a lot during broadcast last year about taking Elly under his wings and getting him ready. But guys like Cam Collier and Sal Stewart are also expected to be a big part of the future of this franchise, and so good to see them get an opportunity to work with the Hall of Famer and do it in a unique way too. Barry had the gloves on, was looking fun. Want to chat real quick, a couple of quick notes from around the MLB, not necessarily Reds related, but kind of. First and foremost, Lucas Sims. He signs Buck Farmer on an MiLB deal. Interested in taking your opinion on that. And then Luke Maile to the Royals, also announced on Monday.
Yeah, no details yet on Lucas Sims. I'll be kind of fascinated to see what he got. It sounds like it's a big league deal. Man, I've always been a big Lucas Sims fan. It's going to kind of be happy for Lucas Sims when he has his breakout 2025 season, but also kind of sad. He feels like the absolute next Luke Weaver. Like I just see it happening. Like I see this guy just absolutely dominating. He probably won't last the whole year in Washington. It'll probably be dealt at the trade deadline. Hey, maybe he'll come back to Cincinnati. I think that's what I said. It'll probably be the Reds' biggest need at the trade deadline. I wouldn't be completely shocked if that had happened. I couldn't believe Buck Farmer got an MiLB deal. I tell you what, man, when we talk about, players association and, the fights with baseball and ownership, like guys like Buck Farmer just are the guys who get screwed in this. Like Juan Soto's getting $700 billion, and Buck Farmer, a guy who has had two or three really good back-to-back years as just a quality reliever that took the ball every time he could, can't even get a big league deal. That honestly kind of makes me be this like sick in terms of how baseball operates. It's just like these guys, like these veterans, like Farmer, that are just like in the middle. Man, it feels like they get screwed. And yeah, good for Luke Maile. You know, nice to see him getting on a team that's kind of a sort of a contender. I mean, if you're in the AL Central and you're not the White Sox, you're a contender. So good for Luke Maile. Luke Maile, Salvador Perez catching tandem.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lucas Sims reuniting with Derek Law in Washington.
Oh yeah,
so
the lawyer.
there you go. Other news from around the league: Jacob Junis, a guy that I know you were keeping your eye on as a potential add for the Reds still to this bullpen for versatility. He is officially off the market, $4.5 million guaranteed. He heads to Cleveland.
Yeah, Jacob Junis, you know, they say better yourself. Well, Jacob Junis, it did not work out. He actually lost $500,000. He turned down an $8 million option from the Reds, got a $3 million buyout by doing that. Only ends up getting 4.5, so he lost $500K. Yeah, another guy. The pitching market is confusing, Craig. There's been some deals like that I saw that have gone. Really, Max Fried got that much money. You know, there were some relievers that got just absolutely paid, and Jacob Junis, you know, only gets $4.5 million. And look at his numbers last year. I mean, now he's had some injury, and that's probably a big reason. But anytime the Guardians pick someone up like on that kind of deal, it's like, well, that's gonna work out well. You just you know it is. So I don't know. Maybe after, you know, Junis turned down that option. I don't know. Maybe Junis like didn't want to come back. Maybe it was an awkward situation. I don't know. But I'll be honest. I would have loved to have gotten Junis back at $4.5 million. I don't know who I would have gotten rid of. But I would have probably taken a signing away to get Junis back.
Jacob Junis over the last 2 years leads major leagues in ERA and WHIP in starts, minimum 10 starts. He has a 1.08 ERA in starts and a 0.55 WHIP. He goes to Cleveland. And speaking of Cleveland, Nick, the Guardians and Reds will face off in the first spring training game less than a week from today. They will meet on Saturday afternoon. The Guardians officially announcing Tristan Sticks McKenzie to be their opening day starter going up against Terry Francona's Reds.
Yeah, Reds have a split squad game, which is going to be really weird on Saturday for the opener. No news yet on who the Reds are going to go with. I would assume probably not Hunter Greene if he was throwing like live BP today. But yeah, look, it'll be fun and exciting. It doesn't really matter. I always remember Mike Lincoln got the ball famously and just got absolutely demolished. I'll never forget it. Probably the most vivid spring training game in my memory is getting excited to watch some baseball and Michael Lincoln just getting lit up by probably the Cleveland, because I think that's who they always open with.
What an absolutely ridiculous memory you have, Nick. And but that's why we love you.